Hello and welcome again. It's me, Mr. D. We're back with another crochet lesson. And in this one, we're going to just look at how to finish off a project and weave in an end. And basically, once you cut your yarn, you make like a loop in the end of the work, cut the yarn, and you're going to pull that through like so. Get rid of that loop. And you can see here, when I finished the last row that I crocheted, I ended up putting in 3 slip stitches in order to bring the height from the work down to about level with the previous round, just to minimize kind of a look of a different height, make it a more uniform circle at the end. Now, the only thing left to do is weave in this end, and we're going to do that by taking a yarn needle. You can see they've got different sizes of them, but this has a nice wide eye in it. And then what we'll do is turn this around, and we're going to come through from the front to the back underneath the next stitch or somewhere real close, and then that just kind of brings that yarn inside so you don't really see that. And then we're going to try and find a good place to go in between threads of the stitches. We don't want to go to the point where we can see that metal from the needle on this side or that side. Okay, if you can't see the needle, then you're hiding it well enough inside the work, right between the layers. And we're going to kind of want to go in between the stitches, and wherever you can see these kind of upside down V's, it's a good place to go. Okay, you can kind of see the needle between those, but you can't see it through where the yarn is as it's passing through. You're not seeing that needle above the yarn, you're seeing it in the spaces between the stitches, and that's fine. But we are going to be pulling that yarn through there, and that will actually close those gaps too. As you pull this through, you don't want to pull it so tight that it starts changing the shape of your project. You don't want it to warp it at all. And sometimes that happens. You pull it a little too tight. All you have to do is kind of go back to the fabric and kind of not really stretch it out, but pull that area that you've just gone through, something like this. So you take it and you just kind of stretch it out a little. Basically, the idea is that you're stretching this, or loosening it rather. Not so much stretching, but loosening that working end of the tail, just so that it's not changing the shape of your finished work. Okay, so depending on how much yarn you have on your tail end, trying to get away from me, you might end up cutting some off rather than using it all. But so you go one direction, and then it's good to kind of come back the other direction if you're able to. And that helps kind of lock it in place. Sometimes the very end of the end that you're weaving will pull out just because it's being tucked under stitches anyway, so it's not, it's not tied in there. You don't want to have knots kind of creating lumps or bumps in your work. So we're just tucking them in. We're burying them between the stitches with this needle. Sometimes you have to kind of fiddle, and you go back a ways, and then you might decide you want to keep going a little further, or you might come back and go the other way just to really work it in. And so even if the very end of it kind of starts poking through, or out from a stitch, you can kind of clip that off, and the rest of it is going to stay anyway. All right, so went back and forth a few times, kind of just give that a little loosening tug, and the only thing left to do now is to clip the end off and be done with the project. So what I'm going to do is just very gently pull that a little bit so that it stretches out from behind that stitch. I'm going to cut close. You don't want to cut the stitch, and then snip it, and now it's disappeared into the work. And we have a finished crocheted flyer or flying disc, ready to go out and have some fun. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.